everyone. Welcome to the Licensing Committee. Just before we start, though, there's just a little bit of information I want to read out to you. It's due to the current COVID-19 regulations. Today's meeting is held using the auto conferencing and available for the public to listen to via our audio feed on the agenda page on our website or via the Council's YouTube channel. This ensures that all those involved or interested in the meeting can hear how the decisions are made. Members and other participants should only speak when invited to do so. So will everyone ensure that their microphones are on mute while they are not addressing the committee? Anyone disrupting the proceedings will have their microphones muted and be removed from the meeting. Members are asked to use the hand raise facilities if they wish to speak. Right, so that's my little bit of information for everyone. We'll start off the meeting with apologies.
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Stephen Reynolds and apologies from Councillor Terry Kiernan, and I believe Councillor Jackie Seymour is subbing in his place.
Right, thank you for that. Item 2, declarations.
None, Chair.
Right. Item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 27th of October. Is there a mover?
Move, Chair.
Seconded. All in favour?
Aye, Chair.
Right. We'll go to item 4, and that's the review of the terms of reference. And this is where I will invite Catherine Kevin, our legal officer, to address the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. This is something which needs to be reviewed annually. It is very much what it says it is. It is the terms of reference, the scope of what your committee deals with. I have access to the legislation. If you want me to go through any of those in particular, I had a quick look at the first part there, Schedule 1 to the local authorities' functions and responsibilities regulations. And it really is quite wide ranging. Things like caravan sites, obviously, hackney carriages and private hire vehicles, with which you'll be very familiar. But there's also quite a lot in relation to things like gambling, lotteries, cinema club licenses, sale of pigs.
Yes, well,
so all manner of things there which are within your remit. So I don't know if anyone had any questions thereon.
No questions from anyone? Okay, then. We'll go on then to item 5. This is the review of the hackney carriage and private hire. But before we do, I would like to invite our visitor to the meeting tonight. It's our cabinet member, Richard Overton. I think he'd like to say a few words to the meeting.
Quickly, Chair. Do we now have a proposer and a seconder for the terms of reference?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yes.
Agreed. Fine, thank you very much. Sorry about that, Richard.
It's all right, Elder. Thanks a lot. Good evening, everyone. I thought it would be nice to introduce the report this evening before handing over to the officers. I have to apologise. I have another meeting, so can't stay for the whole meeting, unless it finishes quite shortly, of course. As you're aware, we have continued to lobby the government when it comes to licensing, as we know it is the best way to ensure our residents are safe when using taxis and private hire vehicles. Although we continue to lobby around cross-border hiring, the government has not made any changes to this at present. In July 2020, the Department for Transport issued its statutory taxi and private hire vehicle standards, which is aimed at safeguarding children and vulnerable adults. Whilst the focus of the standards is on protecting children and vulnerable adults, the positive consequences will be that all passengers will benefit from the recommendations contained within it. We have identified 31 key areas to action or to make improvements to our current taxi and private hire policies, and have already implemented 20 of those areas within our current policies. The remaining areas have been addressed, including the amendments to the draft policy document attached to this report. Key changes involve the timeframes in which licence holders are required to notify the Council of Arrest and Release, charge and conviction of offences, DBS changes and consultation on the installation of CCTV in licensed vehicles. A 4-week consultation was held on the changes carried out between the 18th of January and the 15th of February 21, with the taxi trade, partner organisations, councillors, town and parish councils, and via the council's online consultation library. In addition, the consultation was published on the council's website. I hope that tonight the committee will approve the recommendations attached in the report, which is at item 2.1. And I'll now pass over to Anita, I think.
Thank you, Richard, for that. Anita, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Overton. Chair, I don't intend, obviously, to read out the full report, as Councillor Overton has already introduced the report and the reasons for it. I'd just like to take members through some of the points in the report and explain some of the background. So, as Councillor Overton's already stated, in July 2020, the Department of Transport published these statutory standards. And the council has a legal duty to have regard to these standards. Therefore, the licensing service, having started work on preparing a revised policy on taxis to introduce the best practice standards, it obviously took into account that it's already obviously implemented 20 of the 31 key areas, but so took that opportunity really to review its CCTV policy and the driver, vehicle and operator conditions. The CCTV policy has been updated to ensure any recent best practice standards and technological changes have been reflected. So as you can see, the new policy document is attached to Appendix A, and it's a single document as that's required by the new best practice standards. It's been separated into parts for ease of reading and obviously of use. I would like to just point out and apologise, I have noticed a couple of errors in that the index on page, well, your page 18, obviously the page 2 of the index does not include Appendix D and E, the private hire conditions and the operator conditions, but these are present obviously in the appendices in the attached policy. It's just that those two aren't there. And also there's a couple of hyperlinks that you may have noticed if you've looked through the policy that don't work, but obviously these will all be corrected if the policy is agreed before publication. So we made changes were made as a result of the standards. These were actually in red colour ink, and any other revisions or changes are in purple. These reflect our own changes we've made either to the CCTV policy, the conditions, things that we'd noticed that perhaps were needed reviewing, and again the purple changes were made following consultation. So just bringing members to attention, obviously Appendix B is a summary of the representations made following the consultation. There are other issues that we received as part of representations, like typographical errors. I've not put in the summary, but just to confirm that these amendments have been made. So lastly, really, I'd like just to bring members to the part of the report where it's recommended that Telford Region Council retains the responsibility of data controller for the voluntary CCTV policy. And the reasons set out for these are that the council is already registered with the Information Commissioner's Office. We already have a set of common standards in place to deal with things like subject access requests, cover all the necessary policies and procedures to ensure the security of any data. And we can also, we feel, offer an impartial oversight and reduce the burden on the driver, operator or vehicle proprietors if they were to obviously take up the voluntary scheme, because they would have to put obviously all the policies and procedures in place and be registered with the ICO. So I think in considering my report, it's sort of recommended that Licensing Committee approves the revised policy, and if doing so, then it would obviously, if agreed, take effect on the 1st of April 2021. So sort of open to questions. Obviously Suzanne Fisher, my colleague, is also on this call, so if you have any questions, obviously hopefully we'll be able to answer them.
Yes, I believe Kuldip has his hand up. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Anita. It's you got to excuse me because I'm reading it on another computer and I'm sort of talking to you on that one because yes. it was such a long report. I didn't want to print 80 pages or something, all of them. So I'm reading some of these recommendations. Can you clarify, the cost of having this CCTV in there, or have you got that far yet? Because you said the owner will pay the cost and then the council. It seems to be a bit vague on that end, or am I jumping the gun? We haven't got that far yet.
Right. What obviously with the voluntary CCTV policy, if a driver or vehicle proprietor, obviously if any wishes to install CCTV, then obviously a policy states that they obviously need to let the council know that they want to do that, and they have to comply with the policy. Obviously, the cost at the moment, the cost of the unit that they would purchase and any sort of general maintenance would be the responsibility of the driver or vehicle proprietor. Obviously, that would depend on. There's lots of different, different CCTV sort of systems out there. So obviously that would be something they would need to look at from the marketplace. The only thing we would require, the policy sets out the requirements, the minimum standards they have to comply with in relation to the types of CCTV they can actually place in their vehicle. And that's set obviously for reasons of, privacy and making sure that obviously all the requirements are in place. So yes, at the moment, it would be the vehicle proprietor or driver that would actually pay for the unit.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks for clarifying that. But have we consulted the drivers about this? And,
yes.
Are they quite happy to pay for this CCTV? Like I said, I haven't read them all. I just speed read the lot on my other computer. Maybe there is something. And the reason I'm asking for that is because I got quite a few friends of mine who are taxi drivers. I don't want them to, as soon as we pass this, start ringing me up and saying, what's all this and that? Can you clarify that as well for me, please? I
can. I mean, obviously, the CCTV policy, everything was included as part of the consultation. And as you can see, we didn't receive any representation regarding obviously the cost and the payment of that. Obviously, it is a voluntary system. It is voluntary, so it isn't mandatory. So it is actually up to the driver. So we're not actually mandating that they have to have CCTV in their vehicles. And we obviously maintain that it is a voluntary policy. Does that answer some of your question?
Just going back to just one more, Chair, and then I'll, just one more. He says there is council has got some budget here in one of the recommendation up the top, and but the drivers can't, for the application and for that cost for that budget, can they or can't they?
Do you mean? Sorry, were you referring to the Appendix B?
There is a small cost to the council in respect of the purchase of the equipment.
Yeah, sorry, yes,
the drivers might turn around and say, well, perhaps I can get a grant from the council.
No, what that means is when we obviously have to consider the report, obviously part of the report, obviously we have to look at the financial implications. So whether there's a financial implication to the council in relation to implementing a CCTV policy. So I think there's a small cost to us if we retain the data controller side, where you have a unit, a CCTV, that means the driver wouldn't be able to access the data. They would have to come in, and I think the cost to us would be there's a special lead, that we would have to fit to the unit to actually access the data, to download the data if we obviously needed to. So that's the cost for that. Does that that explains it?
Does that answer your question then?
Yes, thanks for clarifying that. Somebody, I know exactly what you said now.
Some hands up here. There's John Thompson.
Yeah, I think the CCTV is really excellent, not only for the public and the children and women, especially these days as well, but also for the drivers, to secure the drivers' safety as well. I think it's a really good idea. Quite a few of the taxis I've been in, a small camera at the front. I think most of the companies should be going ahead with this action. Thank you.
Right, I think the next one is Jackie Seymour, Councillor Seymour.
Yes, can you hear me all right? For some reason,
yes, fine.
Camera on tonight. Yes, I was rather concerned in the when I read the summary of the representations to see that some of the taxi drivers, well, I presume it came from the taxi drivers, wanted to be the data controller, not the council, and I would have been very disturbed at that. Apart from anything else, I think I think this whole thing gives both parties more confidence, both passengers and it should be also confidence for the drivers as well, because they are attacked from time to time, and I think it's very important that they should take part in this. And I do hope that because some of them wanted to be the data controller, that there won't be a feeling that they shouldn't do it, because I would like to see this become mandatory, quite frankly.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Is anyone else? No? Well, can I just say to Anita, a big thank you for this report. It's excellent. And it's much easier to get all the information that they would want. And I don't know, it's Suzanne as well involved in this, wasn't she? So yes. Big thank you to both of you. You've done a lot of hard work. And thank you very, very much. Right, so it has been recommended to approve this. Any movers?
Move, Chair.
It is moved and seconded. All those in favour of this being approved?
Aye, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. I think that is carried. Oh, someone didn't want at the bottom. I don't know who it is. There's no name. It was just the hand up, but it's gone now. So it's obviously just voting. Okay, well, that's been approved, and thank you all very much. I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. And thank you, Richard. Nice to see you. And also to Dean. Nice to see you there as well. Good.